So I'm starting this new YouTube channel just where I want to talk about music and just show my passion and love for it, really. This will be my first video, and I'm talking about a band called CVC, and they are brilliant. That's why I want to talk about them. I just really want to show my appreciation and love for the band, to be honest, and because I don't think this video will give them any publicity because I haven't got an audience watching this. If anyone's watching this, they probably already know about the band, and so it's just going to be a discussion really about the band. So I first got into them over a year ago now because they were supporting the Lavums on tour, and I got to see them in Bristol. The gig was really good. I remember there was a group of people in the crowd who were clearly there to see the CVC, and they were really getting into the set, and I was like, fair enough, because I hadn't heard any of the songs. I'm not sure if I'd heard of the band before. I think I might have seen on Twitter just people talking about them and how good they were, so I knew that it was going to be a good set, and yeah, it was brilliant. The highlight for me was Winston, that song, because when they did it, I don't know if they still do this, but the sort of in time with the song, all of them were like bobbing up and down, and it was just quite a striking image to see. I remember quite clearly, and that was brilliant. So then after the gig, I just looked them up online, and I think they had their EP out, which had 4 songs on. I think I'll put it on the screen if I can, just to show what songs they were. But Docking the Pay was like the highlight tune from the set, and I think that's the one most people were fans of. And like, you know, when like towards the end of a set, it's like the last song they play or second to last or whatever, and that's where everyone gets hyped. Then in January last year, January 2023, I need to stop banging the table. In January 2023, they released their first album, Get Real, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's my favourite album of last year, and I think maybe the decade. It's like going to be a strong contender. We'll see what comes next in the following few years, but it's really good, and I can definitely see myself listening to this for like forever now. Like it'll stick with me for the rest of my life, I think, because they're great songs on the album. It's well produced, and it's brilliant. So the band themselves, online I've seen that they used to be a wedding band, and I think that that's done them really well in the long run because their live performance is just really competent. They're all incredible musicians in their own right, and they play their instruments to such a high standard. They've put out a few covers as well. There was this limited edition CD that they did when the album came out, and I think that had 4 covers on, but subsequently they've released my favourite, which was the Wings' Let Me Roll It cover. I love that song. I love that album, Band on the Run, and I think it's a clear influence on the band. I see clips online of them just like covering the odd snippet, you see it, and it always sounds great when they do harmonies and things, because they're all singers. The front 3, they're all singing they split the singing between them, so it's not just one main singer for the whole set. So that just shows how talented they really are, because they have multiple people who can do the main vocals, which is brilliant. It's like the Beatles, isn't it, really? So when the album came out, I would have heard a lot of the songs because I'd seen them subsequently after seeing them at the Lavums. I saw them at their own headline show. I'm not sure when that was. It was before the album came out though, and so Docking the Pay was a big one, and Good Morning Vietnam, which is again the single version of that, is just brilliant. It's just got great parts to the songs. It flows really well, and each part is catchy in its own right. I just love it. But so then the album actually came out in January last year, and when you have an album release, my sort of main thing is to have a few album songs that you're like, oh, I like that, I really like that, as well as, because obviously the singles, because I'd have been listening to them quite a lot in the come up to the album release. Mademoiselle, I can't even say it. Mademoiselle is like the highlight for me. I love that song. It just starts off with just such a good bass line, and then it just dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I'll put it up on screen. You gotta check it out. And then it's got like this stabbing guitar part. It's like dun dun dun. I don't do it justice at all trying to like imitate it, but it is brilliant. Really good song. It's the one that I just listen to over and over again. Well, it's the one that I listen to the most, I'd say. If I didn't want to, I'll either stick the album on, or like if I just want to listen to an odd song, that's the one I normally go for. It's just like, it's groovy as fuck, basically. I just love it, and the melody's brilliant, and that's the main thing as well. When you just like sing it in your head, you don't even need. Like, I'm not big on lyrics. I can't even tell you the lyrics off the top of my head, but like the melodies, I just like can hear it in my head a lot. Can hear it in my head. It's just really catchy. So when I first heard the album, I think I was in the car, so I was on a car journey, and I think the first Hail Mary is brilliant. It's just like, it's a good intro, and it's just like the harmonies and the way that they're singing throughout. It's just really relaxing. I'm just gonna get I'm not cheating, but I'm just gonna grab the track listing up here just so I've got it to hand. So Hail Mary would have been new. Winston I would have heard. Knock Knock, no, that would have been new. I thought it was good. Yeah, it's a good tune. Sophie's it's hit 1 million streams now, which is brilliant. So there, and like that, going to the early gigs, you wouldn't have thought that would be the one to hit the most amount of streams of all the songs. For me, it would have been Dock in the Pay, because that was the one the crowd went sort of most mental for. But I guess that's probably the people who've been following the band a longer time than the album, and it's just that song's probably just been around longer, so that's why it's like perceived as like the main song. So that's actually really interesting. I don't know if that Sophie song, if Sophie has been on like a playlist maybe or something, because it's just got, so it's on 1 million streams. The second most on the album is Music Stuff with 360,000. So that's quite interesting, I find. Maybe that's been played somewhere and it's just got another audience. But I don't know, I'm just speculating there. A no-go, because I remember hearing that live, and it's brilliant because it's got this doo-wop feeling. Like, I'd say it's like a homage to doo-wop, because it's doing it. It's literally going doo-wop or whatever, which is obviously from like the 50s, 60s sort of time. So it just shows that their music collection must be quite eclectic. You know, they branch across all the decades, particularly with the cover of Lady Hear Me Tonight. That's a house song from like the early 2000s. So to have that and then have a doo-wop on the album, you know, I love it personally. But this in its own right, a no-go, just doesn't sound like it's from the 50s. Sounds current, it sounds fresh, and that's what you want ideally. If you're gonna pay homage to an early track, you don't want it to sound dated, and this does not sound dated in the slightest. But I do feel that this band, they're gonna output a lot of good music, because it's 3 of them or 4 of them that are writing the songs. So there's gonna be a load of songs that they have between them, and the albums are gonna be the 3 or 4 of each of their respective best songs. So instead of one guy just being like, oh, I've written 12 songs, it'll be like, there'll be like a few singles there and a couple of good ones and like some album filler. But I don't think that these guys will ever put out anything with album filler on, just because they can all sing, they can all play, and they can all write, which is brilliant. And you know who did that? The Beatles. Didn't do them no harm, did it? I think the album as a whole gives me sort of 70s vibes. I don't know. It sounds new because the songs are unique in their own right. There's no like, it doesn't sound like, it sounds 70s, but it sounds like them. They've got their own sound, and it's new, and it's brilliant. That's why I'm making this video, really. But yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hoping that they release an album in this year, 2024. I don't know if they haven't announced anything, but they have just released expanded edition of the Get Real from last year, and that's got like the Remortgage anthem. That was, if you go on Facebook, I think there's a different version of that called the Mortgage Anthem that I remember checking out before the album came out. So they've redone that in sort of more disco-y kind of electronic vibe, which is good. But I really liked the original version. Controversial maybe, but this one's good, and it's out there now, so you don't have to go on Facebook to listen to it. yeah, they released a couple of the songs on the EP. The Skeleton Dance, which is that's like an outro on one of the songs. Can't think off the top of my head, but you can hear it at the end, and that's one of the cool things that they do. They'll play in the songs recording on the album. It'll have an additional part at the end, which is just cool. You won't hear that in many new artists, I don't think. Not that I've heard recently. I'm trying to think who actually has done stuff like that. I guess there's a tune by the Pixies called The Happening, and then that goes into like an outro bit, but it's still linked to the song because it's in the same key. It's like the same chords, but I love that Pixies song as well. So I'm gonna say CVC are unique in doing this, which is brilliant because we love difference. We love having something new, you know, innovation. We're in the modern age. Everything's just rehashing of the old stuff, but CVC innovating. Good shit right there. Hopefully they release a second album soon. But obviously these things take time. I think I heard in a podcast or an interview that they have got like 40 songs between them or something ridiculous. So it's not lack of creativity. But also I just want to point out their playlist as well. Not their music, but it has their music on. CVC Sounds, right? 252 songs. And they update it weekly. Each of them will choose a song, and you'll see it on Instagram, and there'll be a poll like who's had the best choice. And yeah, so it's definitely worth listening to because it'll be their influences and what they're listening to, and because they're outputting this great music, the influence is going to be good there. And you know, you might find some of your favorite music in there. Yeah, so I'll link that in the description as well for people to check out because it's definitely worth listening to. I'd say, what do I say, 200 songs, so it'd take you how many hours? 17 hours to listen to that, and it keeps getting added to. Tour dates that are coming up, because they're definitely worth seeing live. I think people should go to see live bands as much as they can, really, because it's a dying industry it's really sad at the minute because of all these venues that are closing. So yeah, just try and make sure if you've got enough money to go out and see bands, just do it. When they're at a smaller level, the ticket prices are reasonable, I'd say. Like if you're seeing a small venue, it could be less than £10, and you'd get to see like a support band, maybe 2 supports in that as well. Before, bands are playing arenas and they're playing sort of I don't know, 1,500 capacity venues. That sort of can be 20 quid, maybe 25, which is all right considering like massive bands who play stadiums is like 80 quid, and if the bands are massive and they sell out and things, it could just go stupid prices. But I think yeah, they're definitely worth seeing. If you're at a festival and you just see them on the lineup, just see what stage they're playing. If they're at Glastonbury, I reckon they'd be on maybe BBC Introducing, either Woodsies, which is what John Peel's used to be called, John Peel, or maybe somewhere like Avalon. I reckon they'd be, but then Avalon tends to play older artists. Anyway, just if you're at a festival and they're on the lineup, they're definitely worth checking out. Or if they're playing in a city near you, I've put on the screen the tour dates and might put them on again if I'm feeling. I'll just put them on again. It's not hard, he says, and then they're just not there, and I've edited it terribly. Second album, can't wait for that. Hopefully it comes this year, end of this year, start of next year, who knows, I'm just speculating. Yeah, check out, I guess, their most recent thing, Get Real Expanded Edition. If you're on Spotify, just stick it on. Well worth a listen. Thanks for watching.